This show is madness. Minnesota Tim. Jake's Takes. Madness.
I don't know what's more crazy. This show, the Pistons snapping their 28-game losing streak, and Monty Williams and the Pistons players and fan base tearing up, the Minnesota Vikings' chances of making the playoffs, 2.7, or the fact that I took my headphones, the stringy headphones, like the Apple headphones, out of my backpack, and this never, ever, 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 ever happens. I took them out of my backpack, and I did not need to untangle them.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, I took them out, and it's like they were untangled, and that never happened. My computer was in there with them. My charger cord was in there with them, and they were perfectly untangled.
Yeah, that's like impossible.
Mm.
That's probably the least likely event of the ones that you listed. Easily.
I mean, I am just dumbfounded by what had happened.
Well, then usually you sit there kind of trying to untangle it, but like you're not actually really trying. Like at least that's how I do it. I just kind of let my hands just pull
on it.
Yeah, you just kind of pull on the cord, and you're not actually looking at how, like, where's the end of it? What loop do I have to pull it through to unknot it? You just kind of spaz and get frustrated by, why is it untangling?
This thing's stupid.
Yeah.
But Jacob, how are you today?
Doing good. I feel like I'm a year wiser.
Yes.
The last time we talked.
December 29th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel slighted a little bit by your parents? Because come middle of the summer, you have a gift idea, or even like January, February, March, you have a gift idea, and they say, we'll get it for you for your Christmas or for your birthday. But then you gotta wait like 7 months for your Christmas or your birthday. I feel bad for people that have birthday and Christmas days so close together.
I mean, it was fine. I do remember with like video games, it kind of stank because like if you wanted a new like basketball or football game like NBA or NFL, like if I got it now, like it only had a couple months before it was like the old one already. So like that was always kind of a bummer. Like you'd get the new Madden, but it was already like 6 months old, almost, or 5 months old or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was always kind of a bummer. I remember. Do you remember when they used to make the PS2 cases and the DVD cases were the exact same size?
Yeah, you could put DVD or PlayStation 2 into your PlayStation 2.
Well, you can still put the discs into PS3s and PS4s, but I just mean like the cases, like when they'd be wrapped up for Christmas, they'd be like
yes,
you'd be like, I wonder if it's a movie or a video game.
Yep. That's fun. Yeah, that's good memories.
Yeah, but yeah, otherwise no, I don't. I thought it wasn't a big deal. I mean, you remember we used to have the New Year's Eve party for my birthday for
that was a lot of fun
for a handful of years. I don't remember how long or when it was exactly, but
it's on New Year's Eve.
Well, I meant like like I don't remember. I couldn't like. Did we do that from like when I was in like I don't even remember, like 8, 9 years old, and then for 3, 4, 5 years? That's the part I don't remember.
That's a good question.
Did it, but
yeah, the Blue House.
Is that the Blue House? I was like, yeah, true. It was before 6th grade.
Yeah, I remember the Blue House.
Yeah, it was at the Blue House. Yeah, I remember being there. Cracking that light bulb.
Yep, every time.
Yep.
Good memories.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're telling me there's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that refers to the Minnesota Timberwolves' chances at winning the NBA title. The fact that my Apple headphones
Mm-hmm.
were untangled, or the fact that the Minnesota Vikings have a 2.7% chance of making the playoffs.
Or maybe it's that our men's league team, sponsored by Snap Fitness and Hokeland Farms, is going to win the men's league title.
Man, Hokeland Farm. Have I told you about Hokeland Farm before?
No, I mean you haven't. You'll have to do a double read now with our men's league team.
Well, there we go. Hokeland Farm, they rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed Hereford beef. Get it today. I'm pulling up the read as I speak. So give me a second. You'll want to contact Jared because Jared's the guy with the goods. Okay. I know this meat is going to taste amazing. You just put it in your freezer. And here's the thing. This meat costs way less than beef in the store. Not only do you get like hamburger beef, for hamburgers and tacos and stuff, but you get steak. You get chuck roast. You get all these different kinds of meats in your freezer. This beef has no medications or antibiotics, and you get 20% off your first order if you tell Jared you heard about Hokeland Farms on the Minnesota Tim podcast. All you have to do is contact Jared at 952-491-1541. That's 952-491-1541. Okay, so Jacob, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Mm-hmm. But we're 1-0 so far in the men's league.
Look at that.
Big win last night.
Big win.
But no,
a little rusty. Any rust?
Yeah, it was the old common man bit, right? Rest or rust.
Yeah.
It was rest. It wasn't rust. No, Caleb Fales was our loyal listener. He was knocking down the 3-ball in the first half, and then second half is a little more balanced effort. Roland Ozeric kind of put the stamp on the game at the end there, and there we go. It was just a good team effort, good team win.
Here's a question. I remember watching you and the squad back in the day, back in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, when you and the Faleses were on the same team.
Yep.
And Caleb's a good basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Caleb Fales. But I'm not just going to be a brown nose sucking machine here. When he gets a rebound and there's 3 or 4 guys around him, does he still go back up with a shot? Or does he kick it out sometimes? Well, Caleb, I love you. I know you're our loyal listener.
And I mean,
but if I'm being honest here, we got to deal with this issue.
I'm trying to think because we don't have a lot of offensive rebounds in men's league.
He's a 3-point shooter now.
Yeah, that's
back in high school, he wasn't a 3-point shooter. Mainly, his game was in the post. So
yeah,
he's changed his dynamic.
He's evolved.
Yes.
He's adapting to the game. I don't know. I'm trying to think if he had any offensive rebounds. He might have had one. He did have one nice ball fake, up fake, ball fake, and the guy jumped at him and he drove by him. That was pretty nice. But otherwise, he did most of his damage from the 3-point line, I think. So,
did you guys win the title last year? Did you guys win it all?
They did without me. I was not there. Sad day.
Yeah, but I wasn't there either. Maybe that was the recipe to success.
It's been a few years without you.
Yeah, I know.
We miss you.
I know. I missed being there.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But
so the name actually was referring to the Minnesota Timberwolves' chances of making the playoffs.
I mean, what frauds? Man. As I actually mean that too. I think the Timberwolves are the biggest frauds in the NBA.
Well, what do you mean by fraud? Fraud, they shouldn't be they won't be or aren't the 1 seed, or fraud they shouldn't be in the playoffs? What level of fraud are we talking?
They aren't the number 1 seed. They aren't the best team. They aren't the best team in the Western Conference.
That's fair. I mean, that's not unreasonable.
We had about a 3.5 game lead in the number 1 seed for a while there, a couple weeks.
Yeah,
we were winning a bunch of games, and if you look at their last 10 games, the Timberwolves are 7-4. So these I've seen posts about people.
And this is the tough stretch. I mean, we dominated against teams under 500, and now we have I don't remember the number, but it's 15 straight games against teams above 500. So we are in the middle of that tough stretch, and we've still won games. So I mean, we're nitpicking a little bit.
We are nitpicking, and they're only on a 2-game losing streak. They lost to the Knicks and they lost to the Pelicans last night.
Right.
But even in their wins, it's the way they're winning. And especially in their losses, it's the way they're losing. They're not taking care of the basketball. Yes. Anthony Edwards has changed his game into when I get the ball, I'm going to try to score every single time, which I can't explain just how much I disagree with that. The best players in the league don't always look to score. They look to control the game, and they pick their spots, particularly fourth quarter, especially. And at the end of quarters, when the other team might have a 12-point lead, and then you go for a 4 or 5 minute burst and you take that 12-point lead and you cut it to 3, or you explode out of a quarter and you take your 6-point lead and you make it a 15-point lead. The best players in the league don't look to score every time they have the ball. You see more players more than ever before have triple doubles because they're sharing the basketball. They're getting assists. They're looking to distribute the ball, get other teammates involved. So this Anthony Edwards approach of, I'm going to score every time I get the ball, I'm looking to score every time I get the ball, it's not about that.
Yeah. And did you see Towns' quotes yesterday?
I did not see his quotes. I'm so refreshing on the game last night. Let's hear it.
Guess what he went with?
This is the movies is made of.
No, well, because they lost. So think of
never know. Sometimes there's movies that have most movies have a little conflict in them.
They do have some conflict.
And then they turn it around and they win the title.
What would Towns... So, his point is valid.
See if I can guess it, I guess.
Because I think you might be able to guess it. His point is valid.
Okay.
But knowing him and the Timberwolves' history... It's so out of touch.
But
again, if it was anyone else in a different team or a different person, you might say, yeah, that is true. It makes some sense.
It's been pretty good this year in quotes, but what's been happening recently?
It's a little unfair to be hypercritical. I'm not trying to be hypercritical. It's just more of a funny kind of of course he'd say this after 2 losses. But again, he's not necessarily wrong, but it's just the history and the context makes it come on.
Yeah.
So what would do you have any guesses what he would say?
What would Karl Anthony Towns say
about a 2-game losing streak and how the Timberwolves are working through it? Or maybe
we've had a lot longer losing. We've had a lot long. What's that?
Maybe why it happened is
why it happened.
Yeah.
We're not moving the ball enough.
No.
Too many.
That would be good because he's often the culprit.
And we haven't. He's been playing terribly. Maybe it's just we haven't made shots. Is it?
No.
What I was gonna say before you told me that it wasn't about, or is specifically about the losing streak. What I was gonna say was we've had a lot longer losing streaks before.
No, not quite.
Yeah.
So I'll give you one more hint, and then I'll tell you.
Okay.
If Tom Brady said this during the peak of his Patriots run, you might say, "Okay, I kind of get your point."
Yeah.
Any other guesses?
Okay, I got one. We found success, and it was sustaining. So sustained success kind of gets boring.
Whoa! It sounds like you read it.
Just a random guess.
Wow, that sustained is I don't know how you guess that word.
This is classic Karl Anthony Towns.
Yes, it is.
It gets monotonous.
Monotonous, yeah.
Monotonous. We got to be okay being bored. We got to be okay going out there and doing the same exact thing every night, regardless if we want to get cute and show more of our talent. We've just got to go out there and find ways to win. Just fall back. It's a good learning experience for us in the season. The gotta be bored. Oh my goodness. It's you have 2 weeks of good basketball and you're bored already.
Well, and just we've had one. This is the first time ever we've been good with this group and with the Timberwolves in general in 15 years, 20 years now.
Yeah.
Like, again, if Tom Brady said that, you'd go, it's still kind of whatever. But I get it. You win 13 games every year. Like, there's some truth to like. It gets old, I'm sure, but like you've never been the only time we made the playoffs is as a play-in team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we haven't been in this situation before. There should be no level of comfort because this is not something you've done before.
Yeah.
Literally, it's not. And I get this season, yes, they've won a bunch of games and like that's kind of his point. But like you don't have the
pedigree,
or the reputation to really say, we're bored.
Yeah.
Like, you're not good enough to be bored.
And you're not playing bad teams.
Right.
It would be one thing if you were playing 16 games in a row versus NBA teams that are bottom feeders.
Yeah.
Draymond Green said a couple of years ago, or maybe it was just last year, that the hardest games to play in the NBA are the teams that suck because it's harder to get up and excited to play those games. So, it'd be one thing if the Timberwolves were playing the Pistons and another name your crappy team, the Spurs all the time. But they're playing 16 games in a row against teams that are above 500.
Mm-hmm.
You should be easily motivated to play these games because these games are going to show the rest of the league how serious of a threat you are to winning an NBA championship.
Well, and I know I'm sure it does get bored, but like it's kind of that's why you get paid $50 million a year, like to fight through the boredom of being a multimillionaire and professional athlete. Like, again, it's one of those things where like, unless you're in it, like from the outside, you're like, how could you, like, no matter everyone's job, right? Like, you could talk about, being in radio, being a professional athlete, being a teacher, it's like from the outside, like, how would it ever get boring? But once you've done it for a while, you might think to yourself, like, oh, this is boring. Like, blah, blah, it's mundane or it's monotonous.
Mm-hmm. Being an NBA player, being an NFL player, being an MLB player, being a hockey player, it's not as glamorous as it looks from the fan perspective.
Right. Like, we will always, as fans, we'll always like,
oh man, what would it be like just to play basketball? Right. But we're not in that world where all we do is play basketball and all we do is travel.
Mm-hmm.
All we do is play back-to-back games, get up, go to shoot around, watch tape all day. It's a grind, man. Every single sport is a grind. And I'm sure it does get exhausting at times. But like you said, it's why we pay you $50 million a year. And somehow LeBron James has found a way in year 2021 not to be bored. Or maybe he is bored and he's just still better than everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's just my point. It's like, Towns, you don't have the cachet to say we're bored and that we need to figure out we're going to be bored. And he also says, right, like, we're going to be bored. Like, we got to figure out how to play well bored kind of thing is what he's insinuating. It's like, just no.
That's something to keep to yourself.
Right. Yeah, that's right. If you have that conversation in the team film room, that makes some more sense too. Like, if that's, something Conley can bring some light to, I'm sure, because there was a long stretch of seasons where the Grizzlies were just kind of an automatic 50-win team. Like, that probably does get a little tiring, especially with the NBA. It's 82 games. Like, when you're going to be a playoff team, and the Wolves, I mean, I'm joking. They will be a playoff team. Hopefully we stay in the top 6. I assume we will, but when you're going to be a playoff team, there is some mundaneness to 82 games because at the end of the day you're going to make the playoffs and that's all that matters. It's not quite like the NFL where if you lose one game that might be the difference between making it and not making it. So I get that, but yeah, you're right. It's more of a team discussion in the film room versus after your first 2-game losing streak, pointing to saying, well, we're bored. That's kind of why we lost.
One of the worst jobs that I can think of, and I know there's grinding jobs out there that really, 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 really suck, but mentally and physically too, is being on a bad professional sports team, being a player on that roster. Like, I couldn't imagine being on the Detroit Pistons roster, showing up to the arena, knowing you're going to lose, knowing the team might not win 10 games this year, and you got to travel from place to place, do the shoot around, watch the game tape, and you're on a 28-game losing streak. Oh my gosh. And then, substitute whatever team you want in there. Hockey, football. Like, imagine being a football player, risking getting injured every single week. You're on the worst team in the league. You know you're not making the playoffs. You know you got no chance. You're on a 3-year contract, and you know you're stuck in the same place.
Yeah, like Adam Thielen, right, with the Panthers, or 2-win Panthers.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
and he might just be grateful that he's still playing, right? It might not be a big deal to him, but can we? Not that I assume it's been nominated for PST, but remember when Adam Thielen said,
"I'm going here because they're going to win. I want a chance at championships.
Chance at a Super Bowl, yeah."
Oof. Head coach fired. Owner's a disaster.
Yeah. But I will say, isn't it crazy? Obviously things can change, but isn't it crazy how like you talk yourself up about like picking like these, because even like now the Vikings, right? We're talking about, hey, if we lose, we might get pick number 9 or 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
We won't get Drake May or Caleb Williams, but that third quarterback might be there, or at least close enough we can trade up and get that.
Quessy does have history of trading within the division,
right? So we can get Bonix or Daniels or whatever, right? We have potential.
Yeah.
How quickly we forget. Like Christian Ponder was a top, was he 12 or something like that?
12, yeah, it's 11 or 12.
Which again, that's pretty high. He was like the third or fourth or fifth. There was a lot of quarterbacks that year, I think. But
yeah, there's some bad ones that year.
But there's some bad ones. But yeah, but that's kind of my point though. Like even the Panthers, think about what they traded last year. They traded DJ Moore, who's an 1,000-yard receiver, looks great with the Bears. Like he's a wide receiver 1 in the league. They traded a first-round pick, which became a starting offensive lineman for the Bears. They traded another, is a second round, basically, the 33rd pick or whatever it was, early second-round pick, which is a starting defender for the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
The first overall pick this year, obviously, which is whatever the Bears want, and then another second round next year. And it's like all that to potentially get it wrong is what it looks. It's only been 1 year.
Yeah.
But think about the difference between what CJ Stroud looks like compared to Bryce Young. It's not even comparable.
No, it's not.
And I know the Texans probably have a slightly better team.
But they weren't expected to do much this year.
No, their over-under was like 5 or 6. They were the second or third overall pick, right?
Yeah.
I think they were
first-time head coach.
Right.
You look at the guys he's throwing the ball to. You're not
Nico
looking.
Collins
you're not,
and Noah Brown and Tank Dell,
elite wide receivers on their team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is, like, the Vikings are so excited to be in this drafting position. It's like that doesn't guarantee anything. Like
no. Every year after the NFL draft, I come away with the same takeaway. GMs have no idea who they're even drafting. Because you can look at the tape, you can go into the meetings, but once these players get millions and millions and millions of dollars and they're only 21, 22, 23 years old, you have no idea how that's going to change them in terms of where they're spending their time, how they're getting motivated. And there's this Untold series on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great, great series. And there's an Untold Johnny Manziel story that my wife and I watched a couple months back.
I watched that as well.
Yeah. And what you learn, and maybe I shouldn't be so surprised by this or shocked by this, but what you learn is NFL players spend college players that are getting ready for the NFL draft spend January, February, and March and early April doing every single thing that they can to get their body in the right spot, their mind in the right spot, so that they can get drafted high and get a high payday.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they're motivated to continue to do that. They're motivated to get a high draft spot. Their agent is telling them, hey, if you do this and this and this, you could be a top 10 pick, and that's more guaranteed money, or top 20 or top 30 first round, because there is a lot of bonuses to being a first round NFL draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're drafted, are they going to be motivated?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to have the same discipline? A lot of them don't. That's why you see so many busts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, if you are the Bears,
yeah,
do you keep Justin Fields?
Oh, it's tough.
Because, I mean, think about it. So Caleb Williams, even though I know his season didn't go quite the way everyone thought, he's still looked at as like the best quarterback prospect, like since Peyton Manning, like that kind of crazy level.
For sure.
So think about so they could trade this pick that they got from trading last year's pick. They could trade this pick for, you're probably getting multiple firsts. You're maybe getting a player as well, depending on what team you're trading with.
For sure.
If they can figure out a way to trade back a pick or two or three, here's my hot take for next year. They draft Marvin Harrison. And then you got Marvin Harrison and DJ Moore along with Justin Fields as an offense.
That's pretty nice.
I think the Bears could be the division winners next year.
Hey, I got to give you credit. A couple weeks ago, when they traded for the Washington Commanders defensive end, you said that next season, the Chicago Bears are going to be a threat in the NFC North. And hey, if they win Sunday, and even if the Minnesota Vikings win, they're going to be tied for the worst team in the division.
Mm-hmm.
So Chicago Bears have a chance if they win and the Vikings lose. And the Packers, they play the Packers. So if the Bears and Packers lose, they will be tied for the second best record in the division. They have completely changed their season and their future with these last few weeks of the season. And I think that this conversation with Justin Fields in the quarterback position with the number 1 overall pick has become way more difficult and tricky because of their winning these last few weeks. And here's what I would do. I love the idea of Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore and Justin Fields. But this is the ultimate Monday morning quarterback play, right? I mean, it's we'll see how good Caleb Williams is. And if he's a superstar Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes type quarterback, everyone's going to look back a couple years later and say, oh, what were the Chicago Bears thinking? And I think you have to trade Justin Fields. I still think you can get something for him. I think there's a team out there that will bite because of what he's shown in the second half of this season.
That for sure would be. Maybe not like a crazy price. But
you want to get a first-round pick.
Falcons, Washington. Yeah. There's teams that would trade in a heartbeat. Yeah,
you could probably get like a third or fourth rounder for him, maybe even a second rounder.
I'd say maybe more.
Yeah. But I think you got to go with Caleb Williams. He's the guy. He's the quarterback everybody's been talking about, and I think that you could talk yourself into, well, he was the guy, and he just didn't work out. Versus if you don't pick him and he's Patrick Mahomes, well, he was the guy. Throw the entire organization in the garbage can, kind of thing.
Yeah. Right. The risk of missing out on a generational prospect, that's pretty terrifying. Yeah. I think you can talk yourself, if he fails, I think you could say, well, everybody thought he was the guy. Everyone agreed on this.
Versus the Bryce Young thing. I mean, he was probably the consensus number 1 overall pick, but he wasn't like, okay, this guy's the next Mahomes.
Right. And there were plenty of people who had Stroud as a better quarterback. And, so yeah, Bryce Young was, I don't even know if he was, I don't remember if he was he was in the conversation, but it wasn't like, this guy's clearly the best.
For sure. So Vikings.
Yeah.
Went from Cousins to Hall to Dobbs to Mullins to Hall, back to Mullins.
Mm-hmm. What do they always say? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Yeah. What's it say if you have 4?
I don't know.
Jeez.
I mean, Kirk Cousins has to be sitting there just like adding zeros to the offer that he's going to sign, hopefully with the Vikings. Every single interception is probably just like, there's another one, and there's another one. There's another reason why you got to sign me.
He went from, oh, crap, are the Vikings even going to want to resign me after Josh Dobbs had the Pasternaut thing going, to, okay, never mind. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Yeah. I one underrated thing that we forget about, because we obviously, people are like, we got to lose for the draft pick, which is okay. Yeah, that's fine at this point. Might as well. And the Lions seem like they're going to try to stomp us. So, but the other kind of underrated thing is for next year, because really we're bringing back a team that should be a playoff team. Especially if you sign Kirk Cousins, like they should have a playoff team roster wise, I would say.
Yeah.
Playing a 4th place schedule is a sneakily underrated aspect as well.
Very nice.
Instead of playing the Chiefs, right? You're playing the Raiders or whatever, depending what divisions we match up with. But it's nice to play those, bottom feeder teams.
Yeah.
When you're matching up, cross division. So it is sneaky to be that 4th place team. It's a good time to make a jump up to first.
For sure. Yeah. And it's a good time to sign a rookie quarterback too.
Yeah, true.
If you don't end up bringing Kirk Cousins because Atlanta or Washington or one of those teams that you mentioned earlier signs them to a $50 million deal, well, there's no better situation than bringing a rookie quarterback into the starting fold if you are playing some of the worst teams in the league with the fourth place thing. There's a couple conversations I had last week because Russell Wilson was the betting favorite to land with the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm not sure if you listened to this or not, but I sort of made a case that this wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Vikings signed Russell Wilson and got rid of Kirk Cousins, mainly for the money factor. Now, Kirk Cousins has a $28.5 million dead cap kind of thing, but it still would matter because Russell Wilson, if you signed him, would be very cheap based on what we've seen these last few years and his reputation around the league right now. And you bring him in as that bridge guy. You sign that, or you draft that 1st round rookie quarterback. Well, then you can take all that money that you're guaranteeing Kirk Cousins for the next 2 to 3 years. You spread that amongst the team. You re-sign Danielle Hunter. You get a secondary because the secondary sucks right now. You shore up the weaknesses in the offensive line. And there's your Super Bowl winning team if you can match that rookie quarterback. Now I say if as if it's easy, but if you can match that rookie quarterback on that rookie contract with a good team around him. I don't think it's the dumbest thing in the world, is all I'm saying.
No, it's not. And I would say that'd be only if you swing and miss on Cousins, right? That's, if Cousins does decide to jump ship, obviously I don't think anyone would say Russell Wilson's a better option.
Oh, absolutely not.
1-to-1 to Kirk Cousins, obviously.
Oh, absolutely not.
But
I'm taking the future into this too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A little more situationally, if he goes to Atlanta for more money than we can afford, and the Vikings are stuck, looking around going, we don't know, Bo Nix isn't ready to start, but we need an option to keep us competitive. Right. It's not the craziest thing in the world. He wasn't that bad. A lot of checkdowns this year for Russ Wilson.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like,
statistically, he's not bad at all. He had like 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Yeah, he wasn't like, abysmal. Now, it seems like he just rubs everybody the wrong way.
Yeah, I don't like him. I'm not a big fan of Russell Wilson, but I don't necessarily think it's the worst idea in the world to bring him in as the bridge guy. Plus, if you draft a first-round rookie quarterback this offseason, which it seems is the most likely, and you have Kirk Cousins, how do you bench Kirk Cousins and put in that first-round rookie if the team isn't doing as well, or even if the team is 500? Versus if Russell Wilson is leading the Vikings, they're 500. That's an easy bench.
Yeah, you could do. So you could bench Russell Wilson whenever you want to. Yeah,
there's going to be so much fan pressure if you bring in Kirk Cousins if you bring him back, and then you bring in a rookie quarterback to, there's like if Kirk Cousins has one bad game, there's going to be conversations happening by the media asking Kevin O'Connell, asking Kwesi, hey, did you think about starting that rookie quarterback? Did you think about bringing him in? It's a lot of that extra added pressure.
Yeah.
So,
something
to think about. Something to think about.
Did you hear? They asked Ben Lieber, like, they're like, be honest, because he hates Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
If the Vikings send Russell Wilson, like, what would you do? And he was like, well, I'm trying to be honest. I would quit.
I would quit. It sounds good, but I don't think he would.
No, he wouldn't. You can't. But it was just funny. It was like, being 100% honest, I would quit.
I mean, he's got the money to do it if he really wanted to.
He could.
But that's a
nice he's just Russell. It would be hard to cheer for Russell Wilson, just from a fan perspective. Even if he's winning for you, it's like
Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah, he's just so fake and
annoying. Yeah, he's very fake. Yeah,
I don't know.
Mr. Unlimited.
It's just a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Do you think the Vikings should regret hiring Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, not. It seems like he's doing pretty well. I don't know.
Are you a Michael Penix Jr. or JJ McCarthy guy?
I don't even remember how. I guess Penix probably. Well, how did that go down? Did we offer him or did we not offer him? I don't remember what the exact like.
We did not offer Jim Harbaugh, but he came to the Twin Cities, met with the owner and GM, and he came to the Twin Cities expecting to be offered the head coaching job.
And we did.
And he met, and he ended up meeting with those guys at Manny's or whatever for the entire day.
Got it.
He was here, and
I remember.
came here to interview. He came here to sign that deal.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if we like officially offered and he declined, or if we never offered. Okay,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I don't know, and you never know. I mean, I know he was successful in the NFL earlier in his life, but you know, who knows? I mean, if you don't get him, you might. I mean, Flores seems like he's a pretty good coach to have on staff, and you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I still think KOC is a good coach too. But yeah, obviously, the way he's leading Michigan right now.
Yeah.
Who do you got, Michigan or Washington?
You got to say Michigan, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're better.
Hard not to root for Washington, because what a fun team.
I might pick.
You know, what a fun underdog team that's probably never going to be in the national title game again.
Right. We're Michigan, you would expect it potentially, but
so no, eventually they'll be back.
Yeah,
if not next season.
Right. I got Washington.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be a fun win. But anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Nope.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to this episode of the pod. Appreciate you making this episode part of your day. Jacob, as always, I appreciate your contributions and the shirt that you gave me. NFL Blitz.
It just screamed Tim, Randy Mott. I mean, we played a lot of NFL Blitz.
We did play a lot of NFL Blitz and Nintendo 64, for those wondering. Yeah, great game. So thank you for your shirt.
Yeah, you're welcome. Like I said, I saw it on the website. It just screamed Tim Barachka. So. It's a comfortable shirt.
Very comfortable, very soft.
Yeah.
Very fabricy, very soft and nice. Yep. All right, everyone. Thank you for making this episode part of your day. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please follow, rate, and review the show wherever you're listening to the show. Remember to check out Hokeland Farm and Snap Fitness of Mayor for great deals if you mention the Minnesota Tim podcast. Everyone, take care.